Thanks, everyone. Again, my name is Mark Petrucci. I'll go through today. We're going to focus on a couple Autodesk products, but the theme around this presentation is how to build a culture of innovation and adaptation. First of all, applied software, it's been around for a long time. We've been a partner of Autodesk. As an Autodesk partner, today's webinar, we're going to focus on innovation, but it's going to be around Autodesk solutions. So we're going to see how innovation and adaptation have been a staple in the Autodesk industry, and we'll take a look at a couple products. Why innovate? Why adapt? Well, obviously, we hear the term time is money. We need to innovate because we know how things just keep moving faster and faster, especially our construction projects. There's a lot more to do. There's a lot more involved, but people expect that because everything is digital now, it's going to get done faster. And for the most part, that's true. However, mistakes still happen. And so, we need to innovate to help reduce mistakes. If we reduce mistakes, that could help save money, also save time, which also saves money. But the flip side of innovation means that a lot of companies are trying to develop apps to help us with our day-to-day jobs. Unfortunately, there are so many apps out there and they all do similar things that we need a way to kind of figure out, which app fits our workflow best. And we find out that, when we do look at innovation, innovation does sometimes require, training. There's a learning curve behind it. Obviously, money and time needs to be invested to take advantage of the new technology that's out there. Whatever innovation that we head towards, we want to make sure we get a return on our investment. So it's important that we don't make change just because we can. We want to make smart change. And then finally, I ended up, change is hard. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience with change in technology. But change that was happening during innovation over the past few years. It's not that what we're changing to is hard. It's just the fact that we're so used to doing it one way. For us to do it a different way, even though it might be better, people still tend to resist to make that change. And we'll come up with many reasons why not to move forward with that change. So we're going to start out. I'm going to just do, just a few slides here, talk about the Autodesk history to show you how, innovation and adaptation has always been, the underlying theme in the Autodesk world. We're going to look at BIM 360, BIM 360 Next Gen, PlanGrid, the unified platform. I will focus on PlanGrid and Build, and we'll look at, the similarities and difference between those two products, and then why switch, when to switch, how to switch, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So really quick about the Autodesk history. Autodesk became a public company in 1982. Our owner, Richard Burroughs, started Applied Software, immediately became an Autodesk partner. And in 1986, Autodesk released a version of AutoCAD version 2.1. At that time, in the beginning years, Autodesk was focused more around drafting. I come from that period of time where I was learning manual drafting in high school and college. And in 1987, while in college, I took a class in AutoCAD version 2.6. As a engineering major, someone who enjoyed the drafting side, the engineering, having a computer to be able to do CAD drafting, things just kind of took off from there. So I started with AutoCAD version 2.6, and I used that religiously for close to 13, 14 years. Then Autodesk realized that they can't just do 2D drafting; they need to innovate. And so instead, what they ended up doing is they got with a company called Revit Technologies. They acquired their product called Revit to do 3D modeling. And it started out with architecture, and since then it's changed to include MEP and include structure. And today we know it's the go-to product when it comes to design. So during that time, during that period, we switched from just, basic drafting to now building information modeling or 3D design. And there's really, no excuse today to still do 2D drafting. Maybe on some really small projects, you might do some drafting, but the software has become very easy to use that you can quickly 3D model. I modeled my house and I needed to, do some remodeling, and I quickly went to the Revit model, made some changes, did some quantity takeoffs, did some calculations on material, and pretty much was able to figure out what it was going to cost for me to make some design changes in my home. I started with Revit in 2008. So it's been an Autodesk product for 6 years, but I resisted the change. And that's because with AutoCAD, when I got into the industry, I learned how to customize AutoCAD, create menus, write list routines, write programs for my designers to be able to use AutoCAD as efficiently as possible. So I didn't need Revit. And so I resisted it until 2008 when I was forced to learn Revit and use it on a project. I will tell you, I hated it in the beginning because it wasn't AutoCAD. And I pushed back thinking I was a smart guy, that I don't need this. And then the light bulb clicked. In fact, it clicked when I spoke with somebody at Applied Software, and his exact words to me was, Mark, Revit is not AutoCAD. Stop thinking like AutoCAD. And things just clicked, and I just took off from there, and I never looked back to CAD, started doing everything inside of Revit. In 2011, 2012, Autodesk then decided that, it's time for them to get into the construction market. They're always in the design side, AE, manufacturing, and they decided, we need to look at construction. It made sense. If you are now creating these 3D models, to take those models some way, somehow to the field. And so Autodesk acquired from Horizontal Glue their product, and from Vela Systems their field management product. And they simply renamed it and just said BIM 360 Glue and BIM 360 Field. And the BIM 360 Glue product was used for clash detection. The BIM 360 Field product, we were able to use that to, bring our drawings to the field, track issues, track equipment, go through checklists and forms. But they were two separate products. They kind of worked together a little bit, but not really. And then Autodesk decided, says, you know what? In 2015, they decided that what they needed to do was really start over, rewrite the program, and they came up with a product called BIM 360 Next Gen. And what they ended up doing was they took parts of BIM 360 Field, they took parts of BIM 360 Glue, and they created some other products within the BIM 360 Next Gen product that they said, all right, excuse me, we are now going to provide BIM 360 Next Gen to our customers. Now, the Next Gen has since fallen off, and people just simply refer to BIM 360. But the BIM 360 products, such as Docs, BIM 360 Design, BIM 360 Coordinate, BIM 360 Build, they all were interconnected. Now, you could pick one or a combination of the four. The good news is that they were all interconnected with each other, as opposed to where Glue and Field were separate. Now in the BIM 360 Next Gen product, they were all merged together and can talk to each other. Well, then a product came out called PlanGrid. And in 2018, Autodesk acquired PlanGrid. I remember working with a number of companies using BIM 360 at the time, and PlanGrid, the question came up about PlanGrid a lot. When I looked at PlanGrid, I was pretty much blown away at its ease of use, its simplicity in its user interface. It did a lot of the same things as the BIM 360 products did, but the interface was different. It was easy to use, that customers could just kind of pick it up and go with it. And I thought, wow, this is a great product. We started looking at being a reseller, or at least a type of partner to sell PlanGrid, and then Autodesk acquired them. And what they ended up doing was they said, you know what, we're going to take what we think is the best of BIM 360, take the best of PlanGrid, and try and merge them together. And so in 2021, last year, Autodesk came up with what they called the Unified Platform. And the Unified Platform basically kind of brings everything that Autodesk has, brings it together. And so there's one product inside the BIM 360 Next Gen product called BIM 360 Build. And what they did is they merged it with PlanGrid and took many of the features of both of them, put them together, and came up with a new name for the product, and they called it Autodesk Build. So now PlanGrid is still around, and actually all of these products are still around. And you have access as a customer of Autodesk. If you have the unified platform, whatever you have on the unified platform, you have access to the previous version of that product, going back to even BIM 360 Glue. I also mentioned the unified platform. You know, Revit models, while we still have a program for Revit, the model could actually live in the cloud, and I can edit it while it's in the cloud. So I don't have to keep my Revit models on a file server and then upload them to the cloud. I'll just simply put them in the cloud and work on them there. So I'm going to focus today kind of showing you, you know, the PlanGrid and Build, and hopefully you kind of see how, you know, the Autodesk products have changed, adapted over the years to help our customers be more efficient with their design and construction projects. All right, so before I do that, before I actually jump into that, let's just take a quick look at the legacy, older BIM 360 Build and PlanGrid. And so the BIM 360 Build, I mentioned there were 4 products: Docs, Design, Coordinate, and Build. And then we had PlanGrid. These still exist today, but they don't talk to each other. Everything in BIM 360 talks to BIM 360, but BIM 360 doesn't talk to PlanGrid. PlanGrid does not talk to BIM 360. Now, if we take a look at specifically within the BIM 360 Build environment, there are 3 main products. There's project management, field management, and assets. Now, I should also include document management, but docs can be separate from Build. You can get that without it, but Build also includes that, as well as some of the other products. But if I separate these and I click on project management, you'll see things like Rfis, submittals, and meetings, which I have Rfis and I have submittals in PlanGrid. If I look at field management, I have checklist and issues and daily logs, which is pretty much similar to PlanGrid's field reports and PlanGrid's tasks. Now, Build does have assets, and assets is not part of PlanGrid. Assets actually goes back to BIM 360 Field. Remember I brought up Vela Systems? Vela Systems, they had a module in there which they called equipment tracking. Well, Autodesk took it and said, hey, let's rename it, call it assets, and let's tweak it in the BIM 360 Next Gen product to work a little differently than what the older Vela Systems field management, asset. The older Vela Systems equipment tracking module. Well, you can see right here in the BIM 360 world, you know, I have to kind of jump between these modules to get to these different systems. But here in PlanGrid, they're pretty much all right here on the left-hand side. So it's a much easier interface to get to that information than it is in the old BIM 360 environment. So what Autodesk said, hey, let's take BIM 360 and PlanGrid, and since they still have to be separate products, let's create a brand new product, and we'll call it Autodesk Build. And we'll take what we can from each one, merge them together, and let's provide that to our customers. Now, if I look at today what PlanGrid looks like and what Build looks like, you'll notice it's a much longer menu on the right-hand side. With PlanGrid, I'm going to take this and I'm going to rearrange the menu a little bit. Like I'll take Team and Settings and I'll push it down here, and then I'll rearrange the order up here for my PlanGrid options, PlanGrid menu. And I did that so you can see one for one, everything that's in PlanGrid is inside of Build. So with Autodesk Build, you can do everything or almost everything you did in PlanGrid, you can do here inside of Build. Now, the names have changed a little bit. You know, Home is Home, Sheets is Sheets, but in PlanGrid it's called Documents. In Build, we call it Files. And then in PlanGrid, it was called Tasks, and in Build, we call them Issues. Field reports became forms, photos is photos, RFIs, submittals, and what PlanGrid called teams here in Build we called members. So, I'm going to quickly review those in this document or in this presentation, but I will show you live some of the features that are unique to Build, such as meetings and progress tracking, schedules, assets, reports, and the bridge function. And the bridge recently came out about a month ago, maybe a little more than a month, but that is a game changer for how we handle projects within the cloud environment. So, and I'll show you another game changer that just came out this past week that I think would really benefit many of you to really kind of look at the Autodesk Build product. So real quick, today, just to tell you that if you talk to a Autodesk partner, if you call us up and say, hey, I saw this presentation, I want to talk to someone there about some products, today, this is what we would talk to you about. There's really 4 or 5 main products. There's Autodesk Docs. That's your document management system. That's where the majority of your files get uploaded. This is available to all the other cloud products. BIM Collaborate and Collaborate Pro. The Pro version gives you the ability to put your Revit model in the cloud and have multiple people work on it. You can also upload Plant 3D and Civil 3D models to the cloud and work on them in the cloud as well. You also have clash detection. So, for those companies that are using Navisworks, I'm not saying this is a replacement for Navisworks, but you can use this in addition to Navisworks, or if you're a design firm who doesn't like Navisworks or doesn't need the power of Navisworks, the model coordination tool to do clash detections is very easy to use with Collaborate Pro. The other product that Autodesk has is Takeoff to do 2D takeoffs and 3D takeoffs. And then finally, the product that we're going to focus in a lot today is on Autodesk Build. Now, a big change that happened this week is the mobile viewer. Before, and for the BIM 360 people out there, you know that there's a BIM 360 app on your iPhone and your iPad that you can view models and view sheets and view PDF documents on your mobile device with BIM 360. Well, when Autodesk released the Construction Cloud, they removed the mobile device from these products, and it was only included with Build. Well, as of this week now, if you are a customer who has AEC collections, you automatically get licenses of Autodesk Docs. And with that, you could also use the PlanGrid Build mobile app to view those documents in the field. And so you can now use that mobile app. You already have access to it. All you have to do is download it for free, sign in, use the same email address and password that you normally use to log into your Autodesk account or when you run Revit or CAD, and you can access your files using PlanGrid Build mobile app. Now, there's some functionality that's not going to work for you because it's specific for Build, but as far as documents being available and for you to open up a 2D sheet or a 3D model and spin it around, you have that capability with the PlanGrid mobile app. And it's also included for customers who purchase BIM Collaborate or Collaborate Pro. You can also use the PlanGrid mobile app for that. Now, there are some other products that are included with this Autodesk Construction Cloud. Okay, what you see here in the middle, these are all interconnected with each other. Well, there's also Pipe and there's Building Connected, and those products are kind of still out there in their own cloud environment, and Autodesk is starting to kind of link them in and join them together. But the Build product, Autodesk said, hey, let's take PlanGrid and Build, BIM 360 Build, and that's where Autodesk Build came from, the merging of these two products. Are these two products still available today? Yes. Okay, so a customer could still be using PlanGrid, they could still use BIM 360 Build, but the newer Autodesk Build and all the other new products on this platform are available for our customers. So we're going to focus on Build and PlanGrid in here. And let's take a look at the comparison. Now, you know, the theme of this is innovation and adaptation. You know, innovation doesn't mean that something has to be completely new, right? Innovation means it's just you improve on it, make it better, make it more efficient, make it more user-friendly for people, add additional capabilities, additional functionality. So I've got customers who use PlanGrid, and you know, I talk to them about Build and I show them Build because I want them to see that they're so close. PlanGrid and Build are so similar that the learning curve is very, very short. So if we take a look in this example, I'm going to keep comparing PlanGrid with Build. First, I'm looking at the PlanGrid home screen, and you can see I've got my project timeline here with a couple little milestones. I've got my weather report. I have my activity, you know, it tracks all the activity that I'm doing inside my PlanGrid projects. And there's other stuff if I scroll down that I'll see it. But this is PlanGrid. Well, watch what happens when I click and switch over to Build. It's nearly identical. In fact, you can see my project timeline with a couple milestones, my weather report, my activity. Now, there's some additional functionality that I'll show you when we get into the live side of it. But right off the bat there, you can see they look very, very similar. Nearly identical. If I jump over to PlanGrid, I'm going to take a look at sheets. We have sheets in both sections. With my sheets, these are my construction documents that I would, you know, take with me out to the field. Now, the sheets won't be available for people who don't have Build, but you use that mobile app. The mobile app does not work with sheets. All right, it'll work with other parts here, but that's one thing that you'll be lacking because Sheets is specific to Autodesk Build. But when I look at PlanGrid sheets, I could see the sheet number, the sheet name. I could see the version. I could see if there's markups. I could see, you know, if the name of the set when it was uploaded, and I could see specific tags that are associated with every single sheet. Well, if I switch over to Autodesk Build, notice it's nearly identical. I've got my sheet number, sheet name, my version number. I can have my set. I have my tags. In addition, they've included a discipline, so I can filter by discipline. A very, very powerful feature that PlanGrid has always had that they they took advantage of here inside of Build. We didn't have this ability when we were in the BIM 360 environment. But this feature of tags, and I can associate a number of tags with my different sheets, and I can assign tags to hundreds of sheets within seconds. It's very, very easy to do. But, you know, if I'm at the job site, and you'll notice in this job I've got 290 sheets, I can quickly filter by tag to say, okay, show me everything that is on the 5th floor that is mechanical pipe. And my 290 sheets gets reduced down to maybe just a handful of sheets, 10 or 15 sheets, however many. So very quick, very easy for the field team to find the document that they need right away. I do want to mention here, this is an advantage that we have on the Build side is you'll notice when I open up any sheet, I actually have links to, I can link to photos, files, schedules, RFIs, assets. Everything that you see, almost everything that's listed here on the left-hand side is listed here. So this information, we can start linking information between the different menu items within Autodesk Build. If I switch over to Documents in PlanGrid, I have folders and I can upload files. With Build, it's called Files, and for BIM 360 people, you'll recognize project files. No difference to what we had in BIM 360, same capabilities here. The one advantage Build has over PlanGrid is uploading your Revit model. I can upload a Revit model, I can open it. The viewer is much better than the viewer that we had in PlanGrid. In fact, the PlanGrid one is a pretty weak viewer when it comes to the Revit model. In PlanGrid, we have tasks, and you notice I got my tasks, and I'll just use an example here. I'm doing punch list. I walk the job site, I open up a drawing, I want to record, you know, certain issues at the job site, like maybe a wall repair. I can place put a task down or a little pointer and say, yep, this is a wall repair, and I can assign it to somebody. I'll receive an email because it's my job now to go back and repair that wall. This task will be recorded in a log, and it will remain there until somebody says it's been resolved. Well, in Build, pretty much the same thing. Slightly different interface, slightly different, but the workflow is nearly identical. And oh, by the way, remember with my files, well, same thing with, with my sheets, with issues, I could link in other items here within Build, photos, files, schedules. So this is within a particular issue. Field reports. All right, so I will tell you, thumbs up to PlanGrid on their field reports. Field reports, they had some big advantages over BIM 360 Build. Well, Autodesk said, hey, let's take the way PlanGrid does field reports, let's take advantage of that here inside of Build. In addition, they do checklists just like we did in BIM 360. So they really brought the best of both of those and merged them together within Autodesk Build. In fact, they make it very easy for customers to import PlanGrid report templates. You can import them into Build. And so within seconds, all your templates that you had in PlanGrid, you now have them available in Build. And again, with like any form, I could link in a photo, an issue, some files, some forms, some assets. Okay, this list is not as long as the others, but you still see that this connectivity within the entire Build project. And then I'll finish up here with Rfis and Submittals. Here is an RFI created inside of PlanGrid. And when I switch over to Build, you'll notice it's nearly identical. But again, references. I can reference everything else. So if I have an RFI and I want to reference a drawing, if I want to reference anything else, you'll notice PCO. If I know that there's a potential change order associated with this RFI, I can actually generate the PCO right now as I'm working on the RFI. And submittals, here's what submittals look like in PlanGrid. And I switch over to Build, notice very similar interface. And again, I could link in, assets, files, and so on, everything else that I have in here. So I've gone through and I quickly jumped through many of these. I didn't show you members. You'll just see a list of members. That's pretty much the same. So we'll take a look at live some of these features here, and I'll see how many I can get through. Before I do that, I do want to plug one of our apps called 360 Sync. You'll notice 360 Sync is an app to synchronize files or migrate files from one system to another. So notice I can migrate files from BIM 360 to the new Autodesk Construction Cloud. I can take files and move them over if I decide to. Our recommendation is to finish the projects in that current version of BIM 360 and then start new projects in the new Construction Cloud. That's our recommendation. That seems to be typical. But if you do want to move stuff over, maybe you just started a project in BIM 360 and it's not that far along, we can help you migrate files over from one system to another. Or we can migrate between Procore, your Windows Server, and so on. You'll notice PlanGrid is down here. I will tell you, the PlanGrid app, the PlanGrid integration is not complete yet. I spoke with the product manager on Tuesday, and he said that they really expect it to be done, this summer. So really excited, looking forward to when that's done so that we, if necessary, we can start migrating some files over. But all the other products that you see listed here, it's very easy for us to synchronize or migrate files from those products to the new Autodesk Construction Cloud. All right. So real quick here, I have now logged into BIM 360. Yeah, let me just close this real quick. I'm sorry, I'm logged into Autodesk Build. You'll notice the screen here, this looks a lot like PlanGrid. One of the features that is very different right down here is Bridge. This came out about a month ago. What Bridge allows me to do, it allows me to take files that are in my project and sync them to another company's or another project. An example is, let's say that the general contractor is hosting a build project. Well, a contractor or designer, if somebody's modeling in Revit, and the general contractor wants their Revit model in their account, you can actually model in your own account, and then you can share that with the general contractor, and that file will get copied over. And I will tell you, for files right here, it's just a matter of selecting on the file. Very easy to do. All I have to do is select on the file. I come up here and I select share, and you'll see right here I can share this with another project. And all I have to do is look for a different project and I can share it. So we can do that with files right now, and we could also do it with sheets. If I come over to sheets and I select on any sheet here, exact same thing, I hit share and I could share it with another project. Sheets actually has the advantage of, when you share a sheet with another project, you can actually have it automatically send new versions. So if you keep updating the versions on your account, then it'll automatically update on the other account. It doesn't work that way with files, at least not yet, but with sheets it does. And that's a huge advantage if people want to kind of work in their own cloud environment, but need to synchronize or join with other people's cloud environments. So that's a really, really big plus that we have with this new Autodesk Build environment. So I briefly mentioned sheets. If you open up a sheet, it looks nearly like PlanGrid, the interface, so very easy for people to learn. I think there may be only 2 icons, if I remember, that work a little differently in here versus PlanGrid. But again, it just works differently. It's not that it doesn't do it, it's just different. Files, again, this is where I can upload my Revit model, my CAD file, PDF documents, Excel, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. I also have the ability to edit Word, Excel, and PowerPoint when it's in the cloud. As long as my company has Office 365, I have that ability. I didn't have that ability with PlanGrid, but I do here with the Autodesk Construction Cloud. I'm going to come down and I'm going to select on meetings, because that's something that's unique. All right, we don't have meetings in PlanGrid. So with meetings, I can create meeting agendas, and then during the meeting itself, I can start recording meeting minutes. And so basically, you know, I've got an example here of a meeting agenda here that I typically do for my build demos. So if I open up an agenda here, it tells me it's an agenda. I got the title up here. I could actually schedule a date and time, and if I have Zoom or Microsoft Teams account, I could actually generate a conference link using Zoom or Microsoft Teams. And then I can invite people right from here. They will receive an email with the Zoom invite and to this meeting. So here's the meeting agenda, and the way the agenda is broken up, and I'll just kind of compress these a little bit here. So I first have my meeting topics, and so a topic here, I do an overview of the construction cloud. But then within each topic, I can start generating items. So I want to do an overview of the cloud, and then I'll review issues. And so I can list those, and I can also assign who's responsible. Come back over here. I can assign who's responsible for this particular item, what is the due date. You know, I can include attachments and, again, references. I can reference other items that are within my project to this particular meeting item. If I click on this, you'll notice this one says 3 references. It's assigned to me. And if I come over here, I'd see I've got a couple files that are associated here, as well as a photo. So if during the meeting I want to bring up those items, they're right there, they're available to me. Or if during a meeting I want to attach them to any of these items, I can do that on the fly by simply, adding references. And of course, I can come in here and I can decide on whether this is, open, ongoing, or closed. A really nice feature when you have anything that's open or ongoing is that I can quickly come up here and I can create a follow-up meeting, which is, well, I already have a follow-up created, but I can create a follow-up and it will take anything that is open or ongoing from this meeting agenda, and it'll create a new agenda and include all that stuff. If anything is closed, it'll simply ignore it. It'll fall off that meeting agenda. If I come up here and I go to invitees, I can see a list of everybody that I've invited to the project. And as I'm running the project or as I'm running the meeting, I could check off who has attended and who hasn't. And I guess I should add myself. And then I could also add other people that may not currently be on the invitee list. When it comes to documenting minutes in here, it's a matter of I can come to each line item and I can start documenting my minutes below here, or I could also come down here at the very bottom and I have a meeting summary, which I can then document some notes down here. Once it's all been documented, I can then simply select minutes. It'll basically lock this meeting so no one else can go back in there and make any changes, and then I can share the meeting minutes with members of the meeting, or I can actually share it with others that have not joined the meeting as well. Progress tracking. Now, if there are any customers that have a trial version of Build, you won't see progress tracking. You'll notice right up here it says beta. So this is currently in beta mode or beta version. For those of you that may have Build and want access to progress tracking, we will have to request from Autodesk to turn that on for you. They can only turn it on for a project or a couple projects. They can't turn it on for your account. So, but if you want a specific project that you want to turn it on and just test it on, well, then we can reach out to Autodesk for you and get that activated. But you'll notice here in this example, this progress tracking is completely configurable. And in this case, I've configured it to say, all right, I want to track, the progress of my ducts or my pipes. And if I select ducts here, I go to a particular sheet, and when I go to that sheet, I start highlighting different parts of the sheet to say, okay, this is installed, this is tested, this area has not been installed yet. And it's more than just a highlight. It's kind of like a highlighter on steroids. When I start highlighting it, I can come in here and I can review this dashboard, and I can see that 92% of the ducts on this particular sheet have not been installed. 14% have been installed and 8% have been tested. And so this doesn't change a lot. So you just see like this straight bars over here, but you will see how this will just change, and you can look at this very quickly to see, what the progress is for whatever you want to manage the progress of on a particular sheet. And I've got a few different sheets here. I don't remember what I've got on the structural. We'll go ahead and hit that one and we'll see if that pops up. And oops, I don't want to do this one. And we'll see if that pops up. And it's in beta. That may take a while to pop up, so I'm going to proceed on to schedules. All right, real clear here. So, how do we handle, and how have we handled project schedules mostly? Most of the time, somebody's generating a PDF document of your Gantt chart, and then they're emailing that Gantt chart, or maybe that PDF document gets uploaded to your Docs environment. Well, the schedule function, we are able to actually import a number of different file types, and mostly Microsoft Project and P6. So if you receive a project or P6 schedule, you can actually import it. And I'll just open up an example of one that I have imported. And you can see your task list. You can see your Gantt chart. There's a number of settings in here where we can, control what we're looking at. But important to know here is I can't generate a project schedule with Build. Okay, I'm still generating that outside of Build, but then I'm importing it into Build, so I've got all that information here. The other thing that I can't do is I can't specifically edit the schedule, but I can make suggestions to that. Any edits to the schedule actually have to happen back in the original program like P6 or Microsoft Project. But if I wanted to come in here and I could say, all right, the fencing, I can come over here and I can switch this to suggesting mode. And I'll come over to fencing and I'll just kind of pull this over a little bit, show a little more room. So with fencing, I can come in here and I can actually edit the start date. I can edit the end date, percent complete, put in here 50% complete. And it's telling me, it says, hey, you've just made a suggestion. You know, what do you want to do with that? I'm going to continue suggesting. I'm not going to submit it yet. But I can suggest a completion date. I can actually come over here and I can mark if this is going to be delayed or if there's going to be a cost impact. And I could also record a note in here, you know, maybe what is the cause for the delay, and jot down some information. But none of this stuff actually will physically change this schedule, but it's part of a suggestion so that once I finish this, whoever manages the schedule, they will then be able to log in here and review the suggestion. And you'll notice down here the percent complete did not stick because it was only a suggestion. But once it's been updated in the original program, I re-import it. I now will have the updated schedule. Another nice feature is because the schedule updates over time, Autodesk Build, or specifically Docs, which is part of Build, will do version control. So it will keep those previous versions if you ever need to go back to a previous version. If I take a look at assets, all right, now I mentioned PlanGrid never had assets. Where assets came from is the old 2012 Vela Systems BIM 360 field equipment tracking. And they renamed it and they call it assets instead of equipment because people started using it to track other things besides equipment. People started using it to track, you know, pre-manufactured walls or track window panels, track, you know, doors and windows that are delivered. And so they renamed it to assets. And basically with an asset, we can organize these by categories and, you know, kind of organize and keep them together. If I come down here to pumps and I'm going to go ahead and select on this Gould pump, I can see a lot of information about this asset. So the name, the description, the status. I can associate, and this is all completely configurable, I can associate a status with this, with an asset. So I could say, you know, maybe it's been ordered. And so now let's say that I'm at the job site and the equipment gets delivered. I want to change its asset. Well, with my iPad or with my iPhone, see my phone, there we go. With my iPhone or my iPad or my Android device, I can actually open up Build, and when I go to Assets, there's a barcode reader or a QR code reader, either or. And I say, all right, scan the QR code. And you'll notice right down here it says barcode. There's a barcode number associated with it. That number is linked to a specific type of barcode or QR code that sticker, if it's on that piece of equipment like this pump, all I have to do is scan it, and then I can change its status and say, yep, it's been delivered. And then once it gets installed, scan that same QR code and label it as installed. So it's a great way to kind of keep track of the different assets and the status of the particular asset. In addition, if you notice with the asset, if I come over here to references, I've linked in some files like a maintenance checklist or a manual. Here's the manual up here. If I scroll down, there was a form that I filled out related to the slab. If there was an issue, notice I got a picture of a particular pump that's cracked. So, and I stuck a barcode on it. So it's this barcode right here. So when I scan the barcode, it immediately takes me here and I can immediately create an issue. And I create an issue here. It says there's damage to the pump. I assign it to somebody to have them, go out there and fix or replace the pump or whatever needs to happen. And if I come over here to activity log, all the activities being tracked. And so there, pretty much everywhere else I've been in here in Build, there's some sort of activity that's being tracked. So everything is being monitored. So, rest assured that if there is a problem, we could always go back through the activity log to see, who is working at what time. Finally, I'll finish this off with reports. Maybe I'll do two other things here. Reports. So we didn't have a report section in PlanGrid. Here within the build environment, and it's similar to what we had in BIM 360, that I can create a report, and there are a number of different types of reports I can create. Maybe an issue detail, or RFI summary report, or a number of different submittals. The good news about these reports, they will sometimes generate a PDF or maybe an Excel file. You have a choice what type of format. You also have the option of scheduling that report. So, for example, one that I typically do is an issue detail report or issue summary. I might schedule that so it automatically sends my list of, for a person who has issues they need to address, I could have it send them out a report every Monday morning at 6 a.m. that they get only their issues that are still open. I wasn't able to do that with PlanGrid. Here I'm able to take advantage of that with Autodesk Build. Finally, I'll just show you, although this is not part of Build, it's part of Insight. Insight comes with Build. Insight comes with all the other Construction Cloud products. But what the Insight is, that's your dashboard. And so, I showed you how we can generate reports, but the dashboard is huge. If you guys are using Power BI, we could actually take data from here and link it to your Power BI dashboard. If you don't have Power BI, you can use the dashboards that are part of Autodesk Build. And so, for example, I can look at this dashboard that pops up. I see the address, the temperature of the project. I can see the quality risk, the safety risk today. How is that determined? There's something in here called Construction IQ. It's artificial intelligence, where Autodesk is looking at the information that we gather, and it will then update this information to let us know if we need to focus attention on quality or safety related to a particular project. You'll notice down here, for example, total issues. On this project, up until about, between April and May, not much work was done to fix things in this project. Everything just kind of stayed stagnant. But then all of a sudden May came and people started working. And before you know it, half of the issues that were open are now closed. And so I can quickly look at this, and within seconds, I can tell, basically the health of the project. Is work getting done? Are people doing it? Are there a lot of issues? I can review things like my, project issues, RFIs. I can look at RFIs that are overdue or RFIs that are going to be coming up due in the next few days. Same thing with submittals. This is completely configurable. Come up here and hit customize and go to a card library, and there are a number of cards you can pick from, and they're all organized, very easy to do. And what's really nice is that when you configure this, especially with my dashboard, you're able to actually copy that and use that on other projects or share it with other people. So lots of capabilities that we have here with the dashboard. Some of these dashboards you see here were placed here by Autodesk right out of the box, and you can quickly look at them and review them. And like I said, they could all be tweaked on however you choose to review those dashboards. Okay. All right, real quick, guys, that was a lot of information that I showed you. And that's why I only showed you slides of the similarities between PlanGrid and Build, and I want to show you some of the differences. Rest assured, if you are a PlanGrid user and you say, you know, I'm not going to use the new stuff, I'm just going to use the same stuff, fine, do that. More and more projects are being started in Autodesk Build that PlanGrid users will eventually be jumping on a Build project. Rest assured, though, whatever you're used to doing in PlanGrid will be very, very similar inside of Build. Okay. Any questions? Let's take a look at the Q&A.
Yeah, it looks like we do have a couple of questions. The first one is from Jen, who asks, when using Bridge and sharing a file, such as a Revit file, is the sync file a static copy, or is it live and would show any updates to the Revit file the designer makes? Yeah,
good question. So with your Revit model, anything, in fact, let me jump back over to here. I'll jump back over to Build. And we'll go to File section. Anything in the File section is static. It's not a synchronization. You're sharing a file. It's just sharing a copy. And once you share it with them, any changes you make will not be applied until you share it again with the other company. And just so happens, there we go. So yeah, it's not a synchronization. With Sheets, it is a synchronization. You can configure it for that. But I will tell you a couple other things too about files. If you come over to Files, boom, and I'll select Architecture, I can select on that file. When I go to share it, I could tell it where to put that file. So I'll select Share. I'll go to another project, and I'll pick a different project here, and I'll pick, I don't know. Let's do HQ. And I'll just pick this project here. I can select a specific folder in here. All right. Now, if on the other end they decide to move the file or move folders, you know, there's no connectivity between files, the file section here, to let you know that it's moved. If you first put it in this folder and then later put it in another folder, there's going to be two copies of your model over there. So there needs to be some coordination between you and who you're sharing it with. On the sheet side, this is a no-brainer. This one, you just select your sheets, you say share it with this other project, it automatically goes to Sheets. You just have to decide on whether you want, when you update your sheets, does it automatically update the other person's sheets? Okay. Dan asked about demonstrating or highlighting. Yeah, Dan, I'll do that. Let's go ahead and do this here. I'm going to open up this sheet here. So Dan was asking about demonstrating the progress tracking. So I'm currently in a project, all right, and because I have it turned on, I have this extra icon right over here. So I'll select on progress tracking, and then I'm going to select on show progress markups. When I do that, these have already been highlighted, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select on this and I'm going to delete it. And actually, let me select a group of those. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and delete those. So when you first come in here, there's no progress tracking highlights. So if I come over to progress tracking and I have two extra icons over here. This is to select. This one down here allows me to draw whatever I need to draw in here. And since I'm tracking duct, I'll select duct. And then I'll go ahead and I'll use a polyline. I could use a highlighter, but a polyline makes more sense. So I'll pick this, and I'll just simply click with my mouse, and then I'll pick a second end, and I just continue my way down. And if I hit enter, and I'll just pick here, and I'll pick here again. So I've quickly highlighted it. Now you can do this on the iPad, just like this. My thought process is if you do this ahead of time for the field guys, then all they need to do is simply then come in here and touch on sections. And when I touch on it, I can come over here and I can change the label. But maybe first we label it as not installed. Pick this one here as not installed. And then the field team, what they would do is they come back in here and they say, yep, I'm going to touch on this one. I'm going to say that's installed. And so the color code changed to orange or yellow. What do we got here? Installed should be yellow. Yeah, that one there. And you can change the colors, by the way. And I'll pick on this one, and I could say installed or tested. So really what's required is to get it configured where when you, let me close this up, you just have to set up what you're going to track the progress of and set up the colors. And once you do that, you just want to control what are going to be, what's the responses that people can select. And these were all just simply typed in. This can be whatever you want it to be. So I see Jen says, so sort of like Desktop Connector, you have to resync for any design changes. It says, thank you. Yeah, I guess it's sort of like Desktop Connector. The good news is, though, you can just go from project to project. Yeah. Now, I will say this. If you want something that will synchronize, that's where our product, which is this one right here, this one, you can use 360 Sync to synchronize from one project to another project. And in that case, it will monitor your Revit model. If your Revit model changes and it detects the change, it will, well, let me rephrase that. Not so much that it monitors it. You can schedule it. You can say, all right, you know, check every hour. If there was an update to the model and you want to automatically sync it over to the other project, you can set it up to do that. And then I see there's a question said, all right, so when is BIM 360 and PlanGrid going to be discontinued? I don't think anytime soon. I mean, I don't know the real answer, but I will say if I exit back out of this and I come back up to my timeline here, and we'll go to here. Yeah, we'll do this. You know, BIM 360 Glue, which is what, 11 years old, is still available today, as well as BIM 360 Field. So, you know, when will PlanGrid and, you know, the old BIM 360 go away? Probably not for quite some time. Autodesk doesn't have a migration tool to migrate files from the old to the new. They're so focused on just improving, you know, the new stuff, and they're making improvements to the BIM 360 as well. But there are no plans right now that I'm aware of where they're creating a migration tool. Maybe when that happens, maybe then there'll be we'll be at a closer date. But right now, I don't see BIM 360, PlanGrid, or these older glue and field projects being discontinued anytime soon. All right. And let me see. And it says, all right, the similar question. How's Autodesk Build going to replace BIM 360 Build? Same question. Yeah, continue your projects in BIM 360, finish them off. But for all your new projects, and by the way, I wouldn't have said this a year ago. When the unified platform came out in 2021, BIM 360 design, or the new version of BIM Collaborate Pro, was great. Build was a little clunky. So I was hesitant to tell people to jump on Autodesk Build. back in March of 2021. Today, I'd say jump on as soon as you can. It's a no-brainer. And the fact is, since many customers are getting access to Autodesk docs for free who have AEC collections, just another reason, you know, to start using the unified platform. All right. See, I don't think we have any more questions, do we?
Yeah, I think that's about it. All right. If you're ready, I can go ahead and wrap everything up, Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry. There was one other question I just see popped up.
Go for it.
This is a good question. Will a BIM 360 license automatically convert to Autodesk docs? I'm glad you asked that, Dan. Let me bring let's bring up this chart right here. Okay. So I mentioned AEC collections, so I'm going to mention this right now. If you have AEC collections, you automatically get a license of Autodesk docs and BIM 360 docs. Okay, you get a license of both. They're two different platforms, all right? But the problem with BIM 360 docs is you could only use that internal to your own company. You can't use that with any other project outside of your company. Autodesk docs, you can take that license with you to another company's project. So there's a difference there with how the license is handled. BIM 360 design for all of our customers was automatically upgraded to the new software called BIM Collaborate Pro. That was done automatically. Same thing with BIM 360 Coordinate. Those two products were automatically upgraded. You still had access to the old version. No, I take that back because it replaced the old version. Yeah, it did. It replaced the old version. So those were automatically updated, but they work both with BIM. The new version works both with BIM 360 and the unified platform, which is good. So nobody lost anything there. Build is a little bit unique. You can't buy BIM 360 Build anymore. If you have Build, you will finish off your project in Build. If for some reason your BIM 360 Build license will expire before the project finishes, Autodesk will allow you to renew your BIM 360 license.